Good afternoon from Port Macquarie. Today I'm going to be virtually with you in Sydney, and I am going to present you my talk about panic disorder with a focus on the management. So we are speaking about first diagnosis because we need to understand the diagnosis to be able to understand the management. We are going to speak of CBT versus medication, the medication, the psychoeducation of panic disorder, managing the physical symptoms of anxiety, dealing with anxious thought, how to deal with behavioral symptoms, and finally, relapse prevention. So first, what's the change in DSM-5? Panic disorder and agoraphobia are unlinked in DSM-5. So the former DSM-4 diagnosis of panic disorder with agoraphobia, panic disorder without agoraphobia, and agoraphobia without history of panic disorder are now replaced by two diagnoses, panic disorder and agoraphobia, each with separate criteria. Let's see the diagnosis in DSM-5 of panic disorder. To have a panic disorder, you need to have a recurrent, unexpected panic attacks, at least 4 of the symptoms of panic attacks, like palpitation, sweating, shaking, short of breath, chest pain, nausea, followed by a period of at least 1 month of persistent worry about consequences, for example, worry about having heart attack, losing control, going crazy, and or maladaptive change to avoid the attacks. Some people, to try to avoid the attacks or the feeling to have the attacks, they are going to avoid unfamiliar situation or exercise in order to avoid the sensation of impending attacks. Finally, and obviously, panic symptoms must not be attributed to substance-related effects, like withdrawal, medication side effect, or other medication condition like hypothyroidism, or other psychiatric disorder like OCD. So to manage panic disorder, we need to be able to manage the physical symptoms, deal with anxiety thoughts, and deal with the behavioral symptoms. Like you can imagine, CBT will have more advantage than medication. The Australian-New Zealand Clinical Practice Guideline, in a summary, recommend use of CBT over medication, as it's more effective and more cost-effective, use of SSRI over benzodiazepine, and drug treatment should be always complemented with behavioral therapy. So let's speak about CBT and medication. First, the majority of people show a positive response to CBT and or medication. The choice depends on different factors: financial factors, emotional cost of treatment, side effects, availability of treatment in local area, and comorbidities such as depression. The number needed to treat to get 1 person panic-free is 3 for CBT and 6 for medication. Cognitive behavior therapy exerts a more enduring effect than medication. Let's speak about medication now. The first line, if you have to use medication, is SSRI with paroxetine and sertraline. Often, it's needed more higher dose to treat, or the effect may be more delayed than when you treat depression. You need a minimum of 6 months and mostly between 12 and 24 months. When you use benzodiazepine, the concern is it colludes with the idea that the anxiety has something to be get rid of. Benzo may reduce effectiveness of CBT, and finally it can induce tolerance and dependence. It's appropriate to use benzo for a short term, in conjunction of starting SSRI, and when there is a high level of disability. You need to avoid short-acting benzo, so diazepam is a reasonable, appropriate choice. Let's move on management using CBT. So CBT involves psychoeducation and cognitive therapy for the misappraisal, exposure to fear bodily sensation and avoided situation, and sometimes breathing retraining as a coping tool for dealing with panic. So we are going to speak about psychoeducation now, managing physical symptoms, dealing with the anxiety thought, dealing with the behavioral symptoms, and relapse prevention. So for psychoeducation in particularly helpful when patients have specific misappraisal of anxiety symptoms. We need to do some psychoeducation about anxiety and fight and flight response, anxiety and hyperventilation, and also to speak about the common myth about anxiety symptoms like heart attack, fainting, losing control, going crazy. So let's see how we can manage the physical symptom of anxiety. We can do a control of hyperventilation using breathing retraining and relaxing training. We can also do a systematic exposure, which is central for CBT for all anxiety disorder. So exposure therapy involves systematic and repeated approach to fear stimuli, such as fear bodily sensation associated with panic attacks. For example, you can do a repeated hyperventilation to overcome the fear of sensation of shortness of breath, of paresthesia. You can do some spinning or shaking heads. From dealing with the symptoms, let's try to deal with the anxiety thoughts. So we can do some cognitive restructuring. The first step will be to identify anxiety-provoking thoughts. The second step will be to challenge unhelpful anxiety-provoking thoughts. And the first step will be to generate realistic, more helpful alternatives. Here an example of common anxiety-provoking thoughts. So people sometimes overestimate the chance they will have to have a panic attack, or they exaggerate the fear consequences of the panic, or they underestimate their own ability to cope, or they misinterpret normal or anxiety-related physical symptoms. Let's now try to deal with the behavioral symptoms. Some everyday activity may cause physical sensation that individuals with panic disorder may misinterpret as sign of impending panic. Some individuals may develop an avoidance of certain activity because they produce sensations that are frightening. So situational exposure therapy involves gradual increasing patient's tolerance to previously avoided situations. The goal is to have the patient stay in the fear situation long enough to allow fear reduction to occur without engaging in escape or avoidance behavior or relying on safety cues. Repeat, frequent, controllable, and predictable exposure are associated with optimal outcome. For example, aerobic activity, watching a suspenseful TV program, doing some scuba diving or snorkeling. Finally, for relapse prevention, the potential return to panic attacks and avoidance behavior should be monitored over the long term. Patients should be encouraged to learn more about the nature and treatment of anxiety and panic through association, books, online skill-based treatment program, virtual reality exposure therapy, and some patients remain on booster CBT session to protect themselves against a relapse. So in summary, we spoke about the benefit of CBT over medication. We speak about medication, the use of SSRI, and the advantage and disadvantage of benzo. We spoke of psychoeducation about panic disorder, managing the physical symptom of anxiety with control of hyperventilation and exposure to fear bodily sensation. We spoke about dealing with anxiety thoughts with cognitive restructuring, dealing with behavioral symptoms with gradual exposure to avoided situation, and finally, we spoke about relapse prevention. And it's exactly 9 minutes 55. Good. So I hope you are all well in Sydney. Me here, it's very good. It's a new hospital, a lot of work, but there is some advantage to live next to a beach. Have a good afternoon.